so short behind the podium. All right, we're going to respect everybody's time and try to get this going. It is 7 o'clock. Hello, Mr. Ricardo. We are going to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise for the pledge. I am going to open this meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you everyone for coming. We're going to try to keep this as informal as possible while still staying formal. So we're going to follow the same protocol as any open meeting. We want to hear from everyone here. So what we're going to ask is that anyone who would like to speak, please come up to the podium. We call this a podium. It's actually a chair and table. If there's a microphone, please introduce yourself, your name, your address, and then have at it. We are calling this a listening session. So this is truly to have our residents voice their opinion, voice their thoughts, voice their option, voice whatever it is that you want to voice based upon Village Hall and certainly not what I'm wearing. It's just trying to keep it light. So the only thing that I ask is that we've never done a listening session before, and oftentimes one of the great things about living in a small town is we have dialogue at city council meetings where we actually engage people from the public and we talk one-on-one. We talk like we're talking in a coffee shop, just a little plug. But we're not going to do that tonight. So if any of the council has a question, I ask that we do. It's the only time I'm ever going to do this, but please address me and we'll call on you so that we get this going. Brent is going to maintain everything that we're doing here. And if there are any questions as far as procedure, it's not procedure, but in content, Mr. Merrick will handle that. So I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Merrick, our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Welcome, residents. So what we'll be doing tonight is we'll be going kind of alternate order on going through comments. So I'll start and go through some frequently asked questions, but as I'm speaking, if a resident wants to come up and be prepared, and so once the first resident gives their verbal testimony to the council, I'll follow up again with a written comment that was submitted in advance. And then while I'm reading that comment, if we could get the next resident to go and so on and so forth. In the emails and website submissions, if there was an obvious question more than a rhetorical question, I did follow up, and I will be reading my response. I think it'll be helpful to those attending and maybe those watching later on the website. I would ask that residents that are addressing the council, if you have a question, please be clear with it. Sometimes, and I do this quite often, I end up asking rhetorical questions, and so that can end up being kind of confusing. So if there is a question, we'll do our best as staff to answer that tonight. And if we don't frankly have the answer, we'll research it and follow up with you and copy not only the council, but post that answer to the website and follow up directly with you. So with that, I'll get into the frequently asked questions, and then as I'm speaking, if we could get a volunteer to come to the front and be ready for with their first comments to the council. We did create a list of basically 3 frequently asked questions. There's obviously more, and we'll probably learn more tonight and be able to create some other information pieces for residents and interested stakeholders. But one was related to tax impact calculations, and there was quite a few comments, but one of them was, do these tax impact numbers account for future growth? And the answer is no. These tax impact numbers are accounting for what the city of Carver's tax base is as it stands. And so there are a bunch of different variables to consider, but the tax calculations for that $300,000 home are for the tax base of residents and businesses that we have at the moment. Should that increase over time, that could have a potential impact, but there are also increased budget considerations that could have a potential impact as well. Frequently asked question 2, if a new building option is chosen, what would happen to Village Hall? And that was, I would say, probably, if not the greatest, one of the greatest questions that was asked as far as volume goes. And because that's such a
Not quality,
quality,
greatest.
greatest,
Great question.
I'm just warming up.
You're good.
That's such an important location in historic downtown Carver, that in discussions with the task force and the council, that we didn't want to have that decision be kind of a flip-it, kind of off-the-cuff decision. And so preliminarily, the discussion had focused around developing a focus group or task force of stakeholders, interested business owners, et cetera, to work on developing concepts, whether that be a rehabilitation of the building, redevelopment, some other idea, et cetera.
Brent, could I just interrupt you really quickly and just say happy birthday to Cindy Hagan? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to do that in front of everyone. I did.
And then the final frequently asked question, will there be a referendum or an election on whatever choice the city council considers? And the answer is, it depends. There are three essential methods of financing that the city council could choose. One is a general obligation bond, which is a referendum invoked process. The second is a capital improvement bond. The city would have to adopt a capital improvement plan. Within that plan, if the city chose that method of financing, a referendum could be drawn, what's called a reverse referendum. So if 5% of the voters from the last general election petitioned, it would go into a general election. And then there's a lease revenue bond. It's a somewhat complex process, but essentially the city has an EDA, and so instead of the city council issuing the bonds, the city's EDA would issue the bonds.
Economic Development Authority.
Economic Development Authority. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the city would in turn lease the building from the EDA, or the Economic Development Authority. In this case, the city council is the Economic Development Authority, so it's essentially a paper process. But those are the three options. Once the city council would choose a preferred option, no matter what option there would be quite a bit of lag in determining what method of financing the city council would choose. Ultimately, the council could speed that up, but there would be a series of processes related to design, estimating, et cetera, before the council probably got to the point where they were going to decide what method of financing they would choose. However, if the council heard from residents that they wanted to know that earlier on, that's something that you could certainly consider. So those were the three frequently asked questions. It doesn't appear like we have anybody ready to come up to the microphone, so I'm just going to hit the first submitted comment. And these were...
So Brent, let me just, in terms of process, whoever would like to speak as Brent is reading one of the comments that we've gotten via email or voicemail, please just make your way up so that we can seamlessly go to your introduction and your comments.
So these are going to be read in the reverse order that the city received them. So this first comment that I'm reading was received actually today at 5:26. It's from Leah Oy at 691 4th Street West. My vote would be for option A or B to repair or to renovate Village Hall. I feel it is important to get community space back up and running for the community as soon as possible, and then begin long-term plans for the future. Excuse me, the tax burden for the new construction options are much too high for residents to take on, considering Carver's already high taxes. Carver will grow, and we need to plan for the future, but it should also be done at a pace that can be sustained by the community. We won't need a village hall to serve a population of 20,000 people for quite some time. I would prefer to invest in the downtown area and keep a community space there. By the city investing their money in the downtown area, it is an example to businesses that the city does support them and wants to see continued growth downtown. It seems that each time residents have been posed with moving forward on a new city hall space, it's an all or nothing scenario. This fall, I spent a considerable amount of time going door to door and talking to residents, and the tax burden was top of mind for most. There was a lot of concern about spending too much on big projects that aren't yet necessary. I believe it's time to start looking at some options that would allow for more city hall space that aren't looking to serve a population much larger than what exists. Again, Leah Oy, 691 4th Street West. You folks are going to have to come up because I'm going to get hoarse.
Brian, if at any point you need someone else to read, I can read too.
Sure. Tammy Reed, 300 Main Street West. I'd like to state my opinion for the task force proceeding with option 2 of the 4 options presented. I believe that option 1 is not sufficient if work is going to be done to the existing location. Options 3 and 4 are too far-sighted. I can appreciate the 6 guiding principles laid out by the task force, but feel it would be best to fill immediate needs of the community and also updates the space to meet accessibility needs. I also think it's an oversight that option B didn't meet a place that reflects the uniqueness of Carver Bullet Point. Being a building in the historic district embraces the community's history and uniqueness in a way which a newly constructed building cannot. With the other downtown projects that are proposed, the 2017 improvement project and the downtown master plan, it's incomprehensible to me that the repairs and updates to Village Hall's existing space wouldn't also be of the utmost importance to continue to make a successful downtown area for the entire community. As Carver continues to grow in population and commence its future years, I would suggest the task force look to the second site at that time that could be a Carver Community Center, which will have a larger tax-paying population to help cover the costs associated with it. Thank you for your time. Tammy Reed, 300 Main Street West. John Raymer, 123 Forner Lane. I vote for the least expensive option, which is repair Village Hall for $37 per year. The proposal of building a new city hall would provide absolutely no value to me or my family and would cost us a lot of money in property taxes. The property taxes in Carver are already among the highest in the state, and we cannot afford any more tax increases. Taxing the residents an additional $388 per year for 20 years is simply ridiculous. One of the problems is that Carver has basically no industry generating income like Chaska does. Also, the population base is much smaller, which means the residents would have to shoulder the tax burden of these expensive proposals. Please choose option 1 until the population base of Carver hits at least 10,000, and then there is more industry to help out with the tax burden. For me, the tax increase would be $776 per year and $15,520 over 20 years for a new city hall that provides absolutely no value to me or my family. Please, let's be fiscally responsible in Carver for a change. We simply cannot afford a tax and spend philosophy for something that provides no value to the residents. John Raymer, 123 Forner Lane.
Yes, please.
My name is Roland Scholler. I live at 1008 Sunny Ridge Drive. And when I saw this come through the mail, it really, really troubled me. The fact that you want to saddle this city of 4,300 people with anywhere between an $8 to $12 million building, because we're just talking, what I'm seeing here is lowball figures that are going to go up because the building, this is all based on 2015 figures versus when the building may be built. So we're looking at, let's say, a $300,000 property, and that property is taxed, a city tax on that would be about $1,487, and this was Mr. Merrick had given us these figures. And if you were just to repair the old city hall or the old whatever building, that would be a 2.5% increase to somebody owning a $300,000 house. If we would renovate it, that would be a 10.5% increase in our city taxes. 926th Street would be a 19.7% increase. Now we're starting to really, maximum for most cities, if you start increasing your city tax by 10%, you get a lot of howling. But you guys are almost at 20% here, and you're not even at the building that you want. So now you're at Site B, south of the fire station. That's 25, almost 26% increase in your city taxes. And then the where the wastewater plant is, which is the highest, is 26%. Now, how can you justify that? How can you justify doing that to this city? You know, we just got a new school over there, and that's increasing our property taxes. Now you want to, you know, propose this 12,000 square foot building for a town of 4,600 people, which maybe 2,000 people are actually paying taxes. So, anyway, the city's annual debt service on all CIP debt issued under this statute, which is 475.521, cannot exceed 0.16% of the estimated market value in the year the bonds are issued of the property, basically what the cost of the properties are in the city. Using 2015, 2016 estimated market value, the calculation is about $410 million. That's basically what Carver's worth. And you multiply that by 0.16%, which equates to basically $656,000 annual debt service payment. And Carver does not have any other debt issued under the statute, so by using the 2015, 2016 taxable market value as an estimate, the city's debt service payments on these bonds cannot exceed $656,203 per year. I didn't write this. Okay, somebody that is infinitely smarter than me.
You are a dead man if you don't read it, though.
Yeah, I know it. Anyways, utilizing a 20-year bond duration and approximate interest rates at the time of issuance, it looks like the city would use 80% of its borrowing capacity, okay? And basically, what it's doing is you're using, you know, between what the debt that you have right now and what you want to issue, you'll have nothing left if something else comes along for probably the next 20 years. You're literally painting yourself into a corner. And why would you be doing that? Okay, that's, to me, that's fiscally irresponsible. So anyway, it's truly appalling to look at these percentage increases in the property taxes. The city's current tax base is 93% residential and 7% commercial. So everything would come out of, you know, basically your homeowner's pocket. And this came off the LMC website. I think the council really needs to scale this back fiscally and think about what's best for the residents of Carver. I don't think this is a good idea. I think we're too small of a city to have Taj Mahal. I mean, it's truly ostentatious as a proposal. Now, the additional impact on the taxes, again, you know, could be closer to 30% in city property taxes, because, again, the costs that are being presented aren't hard costs. The only time you can get a hard cost is when, you know, let's say you want to build a shed, somebody comes and gives you a bid on that shed. Those are your hard costs. That's what they're going to do it for. These are only estimates, and they're estimates right now. Okay, it's not, you know, you don't know what's going to happen with some of these properties. Soil mitigation, God knows what. Okay? So, the final piece of information that's missing from the brochure is how the city is going to pay for these repairs, renovation, or new construction. I'm going to assume that the city will issue debt, either going through a referendum-approved general obligation bond approach, or you would utilize statute 475.521 capital improvement bonds, CIP, or CIB. We did send an email to a lady by the name of Vicki Sons-Iden, and that was on March 20th, requesting directions on how to find your 5-year capital improvement plan. And because we wanted to know when the council by resolution had approved that plan. Your 2008 comprehensive plan does state that the council will adopt annually a 5-year capital improvement plan, but we can't find the annual document as of today, and this Vicki Sons-Iden never got back to us, so we could find that that annual document. You know, it'd really be nice if, you know, if you sent an email, especially of something of that import, that the people would get back to you. I think we deserve that. These are two types of debt instruments, GO, the referendum bonds, or GO, capital improvement bonds, are 100% supported by property taxes and are subject to the net debt limits under Section Statute 475.53. Current information listed on the LMC website for taxes payable in 2015 has the City of Carver's total market value at $388,664,607 and change. And under the statute's provisions that the total amount of outstanding debt Carver could have would be about $11.5 million. Granted, this is using 2015 information, and it's outdated, so we're going to round it up to $400 million with a net debt of at about $12 million. Your June 6, 2016 council packet for the 2015 External Auditors Report page 103 in the packet, the city's outstanding debt was $6,640,000. The majority of the debt appears to be improvement bonds and possibly not subject to the net debt limits. However, you do list a general obligation mills bond that may be subject to your net debt limits, and that's at $1.6 million. So let's address your ability to pay for the debts for Site A. The cost item in 2016 dollars. Oh, excuse me, it wouldn't be Site A. The site's $7,759,000. For the first cost needs to be inflated by 5% for 2017 dollars and another 5% for 2018 dollars. So the actual debt issuances could be, for instance, in 2018 could be as high as $8,554,000. So, I mean, that's just using your soft costs now, basically what, whoever put these numbers together for you. Okay, these aren't hard costs. To combine the $1.6 million in mill bonds with the Geo Capital Improvement bonds of $8,554,298, the city's outstanding debt would be around $10 million, or 83% of your capacity. Now, if I did that, if I went to a bank and wanted to get a loan and I'm at 83% capacity, they'd tell me to hit the road. Okay, so you're really painting yourself in the corner by issuing that kind of debt and that much debt. I'm also wondering if the city has done a comparison with neighboring communities and how much other cities have debt outstanding, and that is a subject of the rule statute 475.53, which I have no idea what that is, Brad. You know what that statute means? 475.53? I've mentioned that a number of times now.
I don't have that one committed to memory, but.
Okay. The person that wrote this did.
Well, so, Roland, I do have Lori's letter, so I can read it. I do have our response to her that answers some of these questions, so I can.
I know, I know, and believe me, you're very professional, and I really appreciate it.
You have to read these. You have to read it.
I know I'm stuttering and everything.
And no, you're fine, but I also know your wife, and you have to read this.
Yes.
All right.
So do you want,
I'm almost done.
but do you want me to read, because she was,
Yes, if you want to read the rebuttal?
or do you want, she was very clear that she wanted me to read her comments, but is this taking the place of that, or do you want me to
Well,
read?
I just wanted to get this done because I didn't want to sit here for the next hour or whatever else and saying, is it going to get read? Is it going to get read? Is it going to? So I just figured I'd just preempt and read it myself.
So you're taking the place of that. I don't need to
Yes.
read her comments. Okay, so then I'll just, when you're complete, then I'll follow up with hers.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I believe the city needs to wait to issue this magnitude of debt until the city grows and diversifies its tax base significantly. I would like to ask the council and the city manager why 920 West 6th Street is even listed within the brochure as a possible site for a village hall, specifically for two reasons. Within the 2008 comprehensive plan, it's not zoned for this type of commercial development. It is zoned for higher density residential, and two, the city planning commission has two possible residential developments selected already. One, I believe, is either a townhouse complex or an old folks home, whatever. Okay, so the fact that you're using this, I mean, that's just what we found on the site, that this is what's being thought was going to be put there. Now, all of a sudden, it could be a site for a new city hall. And I believe that correct me if I'm wrong, but they've already put out RFPs, for bid or whatever else to find out what it's going to cost to put either A or B buildings on that site.
For the bus garage site?
Yeah.
We have proposals from 2 private developers.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Why is it even as one of the?
Because we own it and we can still use it as a site if we need. I'm answering. And the task force, yeah. But Brent's got that answer. I apologize, Roland. I'm not.
No, that's fine. I don't.
No,
mean-
I'm not supposed to speak. I know.
I bet you're just going underneath
No,
the desk,
no.
right?
No, this is good.
Here's the good part. To conclude my remarks, the council needs to preserve the integrity and historical significance of Carver, with the Village Hall being the center of downtown. I would agree with the repair or the renovations, but these other things, it's just way too much for this city. And again, the fact that it's even been proposed is in my mind, preposterous. So it's very troubling that we're even considering this and that you possibly have the power just to go ahead and do it. So I wish a lot more people would have been here to express their views.
Roland, will you do me a huge favor and please finish reading this? Because she actually has a couple of things that you might want to actually share. And I'm just looking out for you, brother.
Well, this is what she,
Oh, okay.
this
All
is
right.
it. So
If you want to hang on, Roland, I'll respond. So this is an email sent Thursday, March 23rd to Lori Economy Scholler. Hi, Lori. I'm sorry. It sounds like there was some kind of miscommunication or oversight on our end. I'm not aware of your request. However, I'm happy to send you the city's long-term financial plan tomorrow, Friday. My sincere apologies. As it relates to your request for the 5-year CIP, the city has not adopted a formal program. As you're most likely aware, a public hearing is required to adopt such a plan. The City Council may consider this process and program in the very near future. We're working with Springstead on building a plan and will follow all the steps that are required for such a plan. I understand you're probably more versed in this process considering your position with the City of Bloomington. If I overlooked answering a part of your question, please let me know. I'm happy to circle back. Please expect the long-range plan tomorrow. Thank you for submitting your comments. I will be sure to read them on Monday. Again, my apologies for the delay. So here's the
oh, that's right. You had an attachment. I didn't open that. Or when I did, I just read it. I'm going like glazed over, and I just, here, you read it.
So
here we are.
this is the response to the main letter. Good morning, Lori. First of all, thank you for committing the time to provide such a well laid out response to the city's request for resident feedback on Village Hall options. As I indicated earlier, please find attached to this email the city's long-range financial plan. In addition, I've also copied for your reference a copy of Springstead's tax impact analysis for project options. Based on your comments, you might find this information helpful. As I hope you can appreciate, the Village Hall brochure was intended to inspire questions and draw residents into the city's website for additional detailed information on the project. I relay this only to convey that some of the information you described as missing was not necessarily an oversight, but rather intentional to keep a simple and consistent message for all to follow. Your questions and observations are articulated very well, so please allow me to attempt to answer them as follows. 1. The city's tax rate rounded for payable 2017 is 49.58%, which means city taxes on a $300,000 home would be approximately $1,487. This estimate does not contemplate any possible exclusions, credits, and so on. 2, you're correct, the brochure does not include operational costs. Operational costs can vary greatly based on the type of construction, size of the building, and existing personnel resources. With that in mind, coupled with the conceptual nature of the options, the city decided to present the choices from a big picture vision perspective as opposed to a detailed quantitative analysis of each option. 3, you're correct in part on financing options. The City Council has the ability to choose referendum-approved GO bonds, CIP bonds subject to a reverse referendum, or lease revenue bonds, no referendum required. As I've indicated earlier, the city has not gone through the formal CIP adoption process. The city has not previously issued CIP debt and as a result has not initiated the formal CIP process outside of its long-range financial plan. The city's official newspaper is the Chaska Herald. 4, Springstead did perform an analysis related to net debt limits, which is included in the attachment I referenced earlier in the email. To your question, the city has not done a neighboring communities comparison related to outstanding debt. 5, to your question on why Site D is even listed as an option, the task force considered this site as an option worth presenting to the community. I can't speak to the pros and cons of the site. However, I do agree the community review should include the fact that the city has 2 proposals to redevelop the site into either townhomes or senior housing. As it relates to zoning of the property, any future use related to townhomes, senior housing, or community use will require some sort of formal land use review process. However, these actions are a somewhat typical part of the process. Rest assured that I will happily read your comments, Lori. I very much admire the thought, research, and time you put into developing your perspectives, and I'm quite certain the City Council will as well. I did notice you referenced an April 3rd listening session in your comments. Please note the listening session is this coming Monday, March 27th at 7 p.m. If I inadvertently overlooked a question of yours, please feel free to follow up with me directly. Once again, thank you for reaching out.
That's why I'm here, because you guys changed the date. Otherwise, she would have been here, and I could have been just sitting back there and listening.
You did your job, and we read your letter. You're safe.
Well, anyways, thank you very much for...
And we appreciate your comments.
And because part of this, I did prepare this, so this is Lori Economy Scholar's table that she provided in her letter. Rather than going through it line by line, I wanted to show it for council and residents to see and judge on its own merits.
Thank you.
And with the new, what was it, the 1487 figure that you gave us for 2017 for a $300,000 home, it actually went down, which is kind of nice, but it makes those percentages look worse. Because again, you divide that, and all of a sudden the percentages are higher because your city tax rate is down. So anyway, when she saw this, she's going like 25 to 30% increase in city taxes. Who does that?
Thank you, Roland.
Thanks, Roland.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's do this. We're not going to clap. This is a professional. I don't want clapping. It doesn't matter what the point is that people are clapping for. I don't want anybody to feel that they can't come up here for if they say something and it's not clapped. So let's keep this professional, and let's keep this no clapping, please. Thank you. Read one and then have Dwight come up.
Pardon?
You want to read one and then have Dwight come up?
Or do you want to go, Dwight? Sure, go ahead.
This is Paul Schultz's father. I like putting that out there.
Thank you for hearing me, first of all. I don't have quite the bee's nest that Roland had, but I've lived here quite a few years. And your Site A, down at the
Water treatment plant?
yeah, has been underwater since I lived here twice. You may not know it, the water came across the road by the apartments about that deep, and also down here as you go down around the bend, it's been over. So when I lived where I do now, on 1520 County Road 40, or Main Street West they call it now, twice we were blocked in and couldn't get out. So another bad thing in my mind about that site is the traffic. You can't see to the south very good at all, and it's only going to get worse there. It takes you sometimes a good 5 to 10 minutes in the morning at 7 o'clock to get out to go to the south now. The site up by the fire station, I'm not very happy with you looking at that either, because it won't be long before our fire station shop up there is going to be too small. So I'd hate to see us have to go somewhere else to add on to that because of the city hall sitting in the way. Don't make good sense to me. And the bus garage would probably, in my mind, be the better one. People talk about a lot of pollution up there. I worked in that building for almost 20 years, and I think it would be minimal to repair, way easier than the one down by the treatment center. As far as the old city hall, I think that, in my mind, this is where our Lions Club should be able to go, our fire departments and weddings, and not include the basketball court and things in the Taj Mahal of the city offices. I think it should be separate, and I'm really in favor of keeping the old city hall, but not, I don't want to see you spending the money as a Taj Mahal, you know, just repair it. And there's people around here that can take care of that way less than $3 million, way less, and have a building for a long, long time. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight.
Thanks, Dwight.
Yeah, you know, hey, Dwight, just a clarification for our purposes. There's two options. There's a renovation and a repair, and they're actually different, and you kind of said both. Are you for renovating City Hall and the Village Hall into a...
If the ball flies that we get a new city hall, I would like to not have to put a basketball court in a new city hall.
Got it.
Because it's going to cost you like it does in a high school.
Okay.
It's going to be out of sight. And we could get by with this for years to let the wedding parties and the basketball players ruin it if you know what I mean. Use it.
Thank you, Dwight.
So I have Lori Sayer, 1005 Sunny Ridge Drive. Do the 5 different estimated project costs specified include operating costs and building maintenance? What is the increase measured by percentage for just city tax increase for a $300,000 home? Could you provide these data points in a table? Additionally, please include more examples of the estimated tax impact and increase by percentage for different home values. Below is what I quickly came up with for a data table on estimated city property tax increase. Ranges were 2.5% to 26% increase. I look forward to seeing some validated data on this, and I'm going to read a follow-up email, and you can see the table that Ms. Sayer presented. Thank you for the answer to my question about event space. Today I sent more questions via the city's website. I had a table that probably didn't come across too clear, so I'm sending it to you here as well, and so you can see that table. And the city's response, thank you for the follow-up. Please feel free to follow up if I missed something in the response. No, the projected tax impact numbers do not include calculations for ongoing maintenance for any of the options. Number 2, a $300,000 home will pay approximately $1,487 in city taxes with no credits assigned for payable 2017. If you take this estimated number, you should be able to calculate percent tax increases as you wish. And finally, the city had a tax impact calculation performed on a $300,000 home at 20 years. At this point in the process, additional calculations for different home values, as you indicated, or alternative debt structures, 25 years or 30 years, are not available. I'll present the table you provided in your previous email to the City Council during the listening session. Hopefully that covers it again. Please let me know if I've overlooked a question. Our next comment is from Michael Greisinger, 298 Sibley Street. If we're going to spend money on a city building, then we should do it right and not Band-Aid. And a Band-Aid to give us another 10 years of life maybe out of the existing structure doesn't cut it. As nice as the old water treatment facility would be, it's a bit pricey. That leaves us 6th Street and next to the fire department. Unfortunately, 6th Street is in a neighborhood, and I don't know how much the neighbors necessarily want a city gathering place other than a park in their backyard. Remember my pillow. So for me, that leaves next to the fire department as a logical choice. The only problem that then creates is what to do with the old village hall. I suppose there is option 5, which is tear down the existing village hall city offices and build something new on that site, but we weren't given that choice. Again, Michael Greisinger, 298 Sibley Street. This is Lori's email. Next email from Bob McMullen. Brent, thank you for the effort to put forth to bring a truly engaging process to the Village Hall issue. I appreciate the chance to voice my opinion on the matter. First off, let me say it would be wonderful to have a brand new community center, and the sites considered, exception being 6th Street, would be fine alternatives. However, the price tag thereafter, the property tax impact are simply unacceptable. I think that this wish list type of building should simply be shelved as an idea until such time as the community grows large enough to support it. Maybe the day is as soon as 8 or 10 years away, but it certainly is not today, and this is clearly evident if for no other reason than the impact illustrated on homeowners' property tax. So we are left at the very least with some basic needs and cost considerations. The city does need to expand its city offices. This issue is not going away and must be addressed near term. The existing village hall is a logical extension to provide this, and as proposed can also provide some community hall functionality. I think this option provides a reasonable bridge to handle our needs until Carver grows large enough to justify a new freestanding city community hall. While parking is still considered an issue, mostly I think that's perception. I have never had to walk more than a block or two from a parking spot to a destination anywhere in Carver. While this is a sizable remodel expense, it's a much more palatable one. We have to consider that tearing down the hall would also be an expense. Additional consideration with this solution could be looking for ways to reduce the overall bill with cost-cutting considerations on the project. In short, the hall stays downtown, immediate city needs are addressed, some village hall capability is back, and the city would have a viable building for use for decades to come, whether our growth at some point justifies a new community center or not. Seems like a reasonable compromise to me. Thanks for your consideration. Again, that's Bob McMullen.
Is anybody tired of hearing Brent and want to break it up and come on up? Get after it.
Okay. I'm going to read this comment from Barb and Daryl Swanson. She had sent me an email earlier saying that she was going to withdraw it because she thought it covered too many areas, but she was going to submit another one. So I'm going to read only the parts that pertain to Village Hall, if that's acceptable to the council, because she didn't replace any. So pardon me, this might be a little bit jagged. All right, here we go. Good morning, Brent. First, let me say how much we appreciate all the work that you, city staff, mayor, council members put into many issues that are on the table in Carver at this time. We know that you are doing what you feel is important and trying to do so, keeping costs at an affordable price. The fact you always request input from residents adds hours of work to your fact-finding and discovery process. Just so you know that we as citizens appreciate the open forum that is being established. That being said, residents are looking at more than one increase in cost factor presently. With each one doesn't carry a huge impact. With compounded with one another, the cost of living in Carver will increase substantially. Please note that I'm approaching this from a strictly financial perspective. You all know the love and commitment that we have for the city of Carver, the city staff, the HPC, other business enterprises, and the residents. The new elementary school will increase taxes by, and she puts a question mark, each year for the next X amount of years. And there is talk of another school going in with another couple of years. The assessments that we have had to pay in the past, continue to pay, and are expected to pay for the improvements of streets is not inconsequential. The assessment on Broadway was $20,000 payable over 20 years. That payment has been completed. How do we gauge the value? Has there been any new clients who come to buy as a result of upgraded streets, sidewalks, and flower pots on Broadway? Can we expect to add an additional value if we decide to sell our property? Will the assessment already paid for actually bring additional revenue to the owners? Now add the proposed 3rd Street improvement project to the same Broadway frontage building for an additional $13,300 over 20 years plus interest, and ask the same questions. More clients? Can we ask tenants to pay additional rent, increased value? And don't forget the flood insurance affecting the building that we are required to keep current. You might say we are victims of circumstance, which we can't argue. It is still money out each month that doesn't include money in that same month. We have been trying for many years to keep Broadway as a viable destination through costly historic updates to the building, while being told we can't change the footprint of the same building. Who exactly does the city feel is a viable candidate to purchase said building at the increased cost with the assessments pending? If it can't be sold for more, what is the increased value? Only a paper and tax increase. Currently, our home on 4th Street has a $10,900 payable over 20 years. Street curb gutters certainly look nice. For an increase in home value, I'm not sure. You are all familiar with our complaints with the speed and traffic and the total disregard for stop signs. We're thinking not so much of a benefit. Not blaming city staff for the action of residents and visitors, but we are trying to assess increase in value in this discussion. Again, pertaining to our home on 4th Street, the newly proposed assessment would result in $4,000 for Ash Street and an additional $1,200 for the improved alley, plus interest on the improvements. We haven't received the actual amount per year that assessment brings. To add the cost of a community center for a cost of $7+ million, that will only increase our taxes by an additional $384 for 20 years plus interest. That is a big ask at this point, an ask that we feel could be held off until we have more residents to use and pay for such a grand facility. Fixing the existing building will be more affordable and give residents space to gather. I'd be willing to spend $37 per year for 20 years to have our gathering spot back. Can the building at the end of Broadway be retrofitted to expand office for staff? It seems a shame to take a huge gathering space and gym offices to partition as offices. Residents lose out on a gathering space we used regularly. We realized that it was not one of the options outlined. City staff is struggling with cramped quarters. Residents are struggling with constant increases. We cannot do everything at the same time. Thank you for listening, Daryl and Barbara Swanson, longtime residents. The next letter is from Carrie Hosey, 300 Broadway. She's the owner of Farm Girl Junk. As a business owner in the historic district of Carver, I would hate for the village hall to be taken down. We have already seen a decrease in local traffic during events that used to take place in Village Hall and are now in Chaska, such as Santa, Lions Breakfast, Easter. Having these events in the downtown area stimulate local business and awareness of local stores in the area. Please keep the hall and city in this area and keep working to better the area, which includes the historic downtown district. The next is from Meredith. This is a tongue twister. Shoot Pills, 313 Bluff Road. How does the city plan to deal with future flooding on Site A, former wastewater treatment plant site? During the most recent flooding of the Minnesota River, June 2014, the stream flooded and the entire area was underwater. This is one that we responded to Meredith. Good afternoon, Meredith. You're quite right regarding the flooding that occurred in 2014 along Carver Creek and Site A. If Site A is selected as the preferred choice, the development of the building would have to be sensitive to the area in and around Carver Creek. There is quite a bit of upland that was not impacted during the 2014 event. However, you're correct, it is something that should be considered when reviewing the site, among other options. The next comment is from Dan Meyer. I feel the best thing for the future of Carver is not to repair the old building. The current building is not up to code for ADA requirements. It's my understanding that the kitchen does not meet standards per the Food and Drug Administration. City staff is currently unable to work efficiently because staff cannot all be at the same location. I feel a new location would be best so it has room to expand and more parking space, which is limited downtown. I would think a good location might be 4th and 6th on Broadway Street, west side of the road. This option would keep City Hall downtown in the historic district. The old water treatment plant is one option. Has a roundabout been looked at for on Jonathan Carver instead of a bridge towards Main Street cost-wise? Next to the fire department might limit future growth of city buildings. The next comment is from Bill Buckingham, 1108 Overlook Lane. Is the Village Hall City Hall, this is the existing building, located in a floodplain? If yes, are there any grandfather rights associated with the structures? Has an estimate been generated relative to demolishing the Village Hall? That's from Bill Buckingham. The city's response, yes, the very most southwestern tip of Village Hall is located within the floodplain. That said, there are not any prohibitions that I'm aware of that would limit the city's ability to repair or rehabilitate the building as currently being discussed. With that in mind, I don't believe there are any grandfather rights that would need to be applied. Related to your demolition question, there are no current options being considered for the demolition of Village Hall. That said, in 2016, an estimate for the building's demolition was in the neighborhood of $75,000. Next comment, Joy McKnight, 204 Carver Creek Place. My vote is for one renovation. I like this community gathering place in downtown, and it is worth the investment to keep it there. Next choice is either A or B, since those allow for expansion. Site A keeps the buildings physically together, fire utility, which is positive. Site B has always been a favorite site to consider additional community space beyond staff offices, such as a library or community meetings. I do not support Site D, as that is being considered by the Planning Commission for senior housing, and I think it is a better use of that location than a Village Hall, as it is in a residential neighborhood. Another comment from Lori Sayer, 1005 Sunny Ridge Drive. I'm in favor of option 1, Village Hall repair, though I think all 5 options are good possibilities. Each one of them has their own list of pros and cons. I have questions. What is meant by event and meeting room space? Could the space be used for basketball or volleyball games? What types of sports could be used? What types of sports could use it as a practice facility? And this is a response the city gave to those questions. As a follow-up to your questions, the design meeting room gathering space would not be any type of athletic, sporting events, or activities. Activities would include meetings, dinners, weddings, fundraisers, community celebrations, and so on. The next comment is from Ryan Redberg, 326 Foster Avenue. This project is too expensive for residents of Carver. We cannot afford the tax increases in the city. I already pay over $5,000 a year in property tax. I am already looking to move other places due to high taxes. This also severely impacts our value to our homes. I am strongly against this project due to cost and not enough businesses to help with the cost of this building. Next comment from Jody Blummer, 678 Reese Graff Road. I feel that City Hall should remain in downtown Carver, where the heart of the city is. Please don't put more into JCP, or Jonathan Carver Parkway. It is already becoming a speedway freeway. We moved to Carver almost 2 years ago from Chaska for a quieter life, and I really wish I had done more research than on the amount of growth that is already planned for this little area. Hearing about another 250 plus houses and a daycare along with more buildings and possibly a new city hall concerns me, especially with the park and the amount of children there in that area. Please don't overdevelop this area as well. Jody Blummer, 678 Reese Graff. Jane Thone, 15444 County Road 2. I am not a resident of Carver, but have been a big part of this community for many years. My biggest concern is that the cost should not be the biggest concern for this project. Carver is growing. Carver needs a place that can handle this growth, whether it be gym space, family functions, multiple meeting places for small groups, as well as medium and large groups. Parking space needs to accommodate the number of cars that these projects will bring. I also feel we need to look at the impact of entering and leaving Jonathan Carver Parkway. Personal thoughts is that I would love to see the Carver Hall back. Logically, that is not the choice we need, but I do think it is a big part of Carver. Maybe it needs to be all city offices and meeting places, and the other choice be for the other activities needed in the community. Good luck on making this decision be right for the long haul, not just for today. Jane Thone. Alan Hisbinski, 1023 Sunny Ridge Drive. While we prefer choice one, repair existing building and use it as it has been used for years, I doubt the council, mayor, or anybody will lean this way. Tax-wise, it is our preference until the city tax base is broadened. Knowing that this is probably an unpopular scenario, second choice would be option two. Updates, office space, and most importantly, keeping the government center downtown so that Carver still maintains some semblance of a city, and not just another sprawled out suburb or exurb. I am sure the plans have already been put into motion to utilize the new school for gymnasium type activities. So with only the loss of a wedding party space, option two is very workable even for the long term. Alan Hisbinski, 1023 Sunny Ridge Drive. Jenna Kruger, 1600 Main Street West. I'm really hoping that the decision is made to renovate Village Hall. It belongs downtown and it has been greatly missed. It's so sad to drive by the building every day knowing that such a historic building may be torn down. Again, that's Jenna Kruger, 1600 Main Street West. Andy Olson, 729 Debbie Lane. Why don't we use the lot that the old fire station is on? I know there were plans for a small park, but we already have a small park in downtown Carver that nobody uses. Plus, we need to continue to invest in downtown Carver since that is what makes our town unique, not just the neighborhoods. We did respond to Andy. The task force did consider the old fire station site. However, it didn't move forward in the process based on its location within the floodplain. I'll make sure your comments get passed along to the city council.
Need some water? We have mints.
I'm good.
All right.
Next comment is from Lisa Lee, 338 Foster Avenue. Option two leaves it in downtown, gets it to a place it can be used and slightly updated. Again, that's Lisa Lee, 338 Foster Avenue. Steve Squires, 109 Carver Creek Circle. I like option one and two, not a fan of the other options at all. I think the task force might have missed a guiding principle or two, which I'm going to guess it's going to be a common theme in others' feedback. Thank you for asking the community. I think being able to leave feedback and be involved is great. Steve Squires, 109 Carver Creek Circle. Krista Goodall, 975 Woodview Court. While the guiding principles and Village Hall options are interesting, it's really a list of wants versus needs. As a taxpayer, I hope the council agrees to let the residents vote in a referendum versus just increasing taxes up to $388 a year or $7,000 over 20 years. Carver already has extremely high taxes. How is this going to attract much-needed businesses? The median home value in Carver is $287,100. It doesn't make sense to build something that costs 18 to 27 times more than the price of an average home. Again, Krista Godell, 975 Woodview Court. We did follow up with Krista. I understand your points and will make sure they get read during the upcoming listening session. Your submission indicated you wish to be contacted, however, I didn't see a question. I assume the business comment was more of a rhetorical question related to high taxes in Carver. And I didn't get a follow-up from Krista, so I think her question was answered. Next is Thad Lornick, 111 Carver Creek Circle. I would like to know if the city council is aware that March 27th is in the middle of spring break. The people who will be most affected by the 20-year tax increase will most likely be on spring break, and their children are unable to attend the meeting. Also, is there different designs for each location? It appears they all have the exact same square footage. Water treatment plant location should take advantage of the location of the bluffs at this location. We did follow up with Mr. Larnrick, 111 Carver Creek. The concepts you see are identical. If an option is chosen that involves a new building, there would have to be additional work done to right-size it for each property. Yes, I do have a first and fifth grader in the district, so I'm aware of the spring break situation. We've attempted to provide multiple opportunities for residents to be heard on this issue, so we didn't have, in quotes, one special day where you're needed to be at a meeting to be heard. The city held an open house, which was this past Monday. We're also taking comments in advance, live streaming the listening session and recording it. We will also take additional comments on April 3rd if residents are inclined to do so.
And you also added, I'm jealous if you're going somewhere warm.
Correct. And he was somewhere warm. He was in Florida. Next comment is from Tim Craig, 119 Carver Creek Circle. Option 1 and 2, retrofitting the existing village hall that outlived its usefulness long ago just to have more office space is not the answer. Option 3, Site A, I am sure you had to plug something into that property because the city owns it. But building right next to the floodplain that has changed twice since I moved to Carver 19 years ago, we would also have to build a bridge that would carry every kind of vehicle known to man now and in the future. When we can't afford to fix our own 4th Street bridge, this is not going to go over very good. Option 4, Site B, while I don't know how the committee thought that this met all 6 guiding principles, how 2 and 3 met with a new building next to the fire station. That's a whole different discussion. Excuse me. It keeps city services in one spot across from Community Park, and we're eventually where the center of Carver will be. City offices do not have to be downtown. Option 5, Site D, again, the city-owned land that was plugged in because you have to. The fact that it has potential buyers, developers, that eventually its inhabitants would pay taxes takes it out of the equation. I'm not sure it was worth the time to draw something out. Option 6, current village hall site. Something has to be done on that lot. It is the focal spot of Carver. We need to make sure that at some point it will be a public space for everyone to use. It will give downtown businesses and city residents at least a glimmer of hope that someday we will have some kind of event center, for lack of a name it will become, that will be on that awesome corner. If it was up to me, and it is not, I would say option 4 in 6.0. Thanks for asking, Tim Craig, 119 Carver Creek Circle. Next, Phil Hamlin, 107 Carver Creek Circle. My personal preference is the repair of Village Hall. There is enough tax burden on citizens in the form of real estate taxes as well as additional water infrastructure that has been added. Perhaps in 5 or 10 years, the population base can be analyzed again in order to determine the potential tax implications. If Carver really grows and the tax impact is not as burdensome, there will be more support for more expensive options. Thank you for accepting my input. Phil Hamlin, 107 Carver Creek Circle. The next set of comments were received during the city's open house session on Monday, March 13th, so I think we have at least one duplicate comment. But again, this is a comment from Tim Craig, 119 Carver Creek. I like option number 4 because you keep all of the city staff, etc., in one area that will eventually be the center of Carver. then tear down Village Hall and build new community something on that same lot. Tim Craig, 119 Carver Creek. John and Jenny Stone, 412 3rd Street West. Option B looks great. Take as much land as possible for max options in the future. John and Jenny Stone, 412 3rd Street West. Joanne Wygan, 209 Carver Creek Place. I can't read the first word. Love Plan, Site A, the wastewater treatment plant. Beautiful site. The property acquisition costs, room to grow, close to downtown. Traffic is light on that road. Love the ability to expand for future needs. Please include a roaster-sized sink for Lions firehouse functions and a wonderful faucet.
Wonderful.
Maybe a dishwasher for smaller items. Install web down there, maybe. Thanks for all the hard work on bringing this project together. Joanne Wygan, 209 Carver Creek Place. Next comment from Margaret Glasson, 764 Kirchy Hill Drive. My vote is for the fire department location, option B. I think it's a great location. Makes sense for city departments to be near each other. I know it's a cost to the taxpayers, but I think it needs to be a space that can grow with our growing community. I'm not a huge fan of option D purely because that is my backyard. My husband and I have small kids, a dog, and are concerned about the increase in traffic and number of people coming and going. Again, Margaret Glasson, 764 Kirchy Hill Drive. Next comment is from Thomas Dahl, 982 Sunny Ridge Drive. The village hall we have worked just fine. The repair will be just fine. Need to keep taxes down. We are taxed enough. Thomas Dahl, 982 Sunny Ridge Drive. Next comment is from Jenny Schultz, 1026 Sunny Ridge Drive. I believe the city hall should stay downtown. Under the task force site evaluation, I believe keeping it downtown checks more boxes than stated. What is unique about Carver is its downtown. Many visitors comment about it. Renovating the village hall and making it look like it fits in better will only improve on this aspect. Keeping Village Hall downtown provides a sense of community, a place where the community can get together, where the community can gather in the heart of downtown. This also gives local businesses an opportunity to possibly capitalize off of events that are held there. It helps to engage other aspects of the community. If an off-site choice is made, there is still the cost of dealing with what to do with Village Hall. I would like the City Council to vote for the Village Hall renovation. The representative from Leroy Daly, which is the architecture firm, did not represent an unbiased opinion of what she feels is the right choice. Again, that's Jenny Schultz of 1026 Sunny Ridge Drive.
Did she say what, and maybe you talked to her afterwards, but did she say, she just said an unbiased, or not an unbiased, but did she say where the representative was leaning? Okay.
I didn't follow up on that one.
Okay.
Next comment is from Jim Wygan, 209 Carver Creek Place. Long term, I like Site A best, but we should give much thought to renovation of Village Hall first and then adding Site A option in future. Overall, this would cost more, but we would have a completed renovation earlier and could delay more expensive full building further out. Since city seems to be growing again, delaying would reduce lower all best for each homeowner. Jim Wygan, 209 Carver Creek Place. Next comment is from Tonya Raymer. Tonya Raymer, 123 Forner Lane. My husband and I are disappointed that this proposal is even a consideration at this time. By going forward with any of the options other than repairing the existing city hall, all Carver taxpayers will have an increase in their already high taxes. Our taxes will go up $800 a year. The question becomes, do we really need a new city hall for such a small community, or are we just spending taxpayers' money needlessly and recklessly? Why not just repair the existing building? Let's let all the taxpayers vote and decide. After all, it's our money. Tonya Raymer, 123 Forner Lane. Next comment, Michael Quinn, 743 Kirchy Hill Drive. As a 12-year resident of Carver, I have enjoyed Village Hall on numerous occasions and really enjoy having it located in the downtown area. I would hate to see this change and would strongly voice my support for any option that keeps Village Hall at its present location. Of all the options that have been presented, I would support option 2, which is the renovation of Village Hall, as long as this option addresses the long-term viability of the building and its use as a community gathering place for events such as have been held in the past. Michael Quinn, 743 Kirchy Hill Drive. Brian Nelson, 1139 Lorraine Court. Please do not raise taxes anymore. This is going to backfire on this city, and the people are going to move to Chaska or move further out. The tax burden is ridiculous in this small town. We footed the bill for a new elementary school recently, and some residents are taxed to the breaking point. Please select a plan that simply repairs what we already have. There is no need to add almost $400 to an average home's property tax. There is no need for a city hall that would cost that much. An absolute joke. I am willing to bet guiding principles were written after the most expensive solution was arrived at. Also, please put it to a vote. City did respond to Mr. Nelson's comments. Hi, Brian. Hope all is well. Thank you for reaching out on this issue. I will make sure your comments are passed along during the upcoming City Council listening session. I certainly understand the point of view related to the tax impact. It's definitely a significant issue. I would have to say that the process to get to the options and the development of the guiding principles was authentic and legitimate. They were developed during the first session of the resident task force. That said, I completely understand and appreciate that not everyone will agree with what these residents developed. That's why I'm glad that you and others are choosing to voice their comments and preferences.
We're almost done, just to let everyone
Yes,
know.
you guys
There's
better be
4
ready.
left.
David Stuber, 1640 Mount Hope Road. I would vote for option 1. Minimal cost to taxpayer while keeping the gymnasium intact, returning the building to the community to be used for community events. David Stuber, 1640 Mount Hope Road. I love you, Eric.
That's on tape.
He doesn't know you, but he loves you.
So I'm Eric Ricard, 302 Fullerton Avenue. I'll be really upset if we choose option 1 or 2. I really think as a taxpayer that isn't the right decision. I think the guiding principles that the group considered are the right way to approach this type of investment. I don't know that option or site D, B, or A and the big price tags are the right options, but I do know that we need to take a long-term approach to this investment and consider what we can do. I don't think the city offices need to be downtown. I think the corner that is now Village Hall can be redeveloped into a community gathering space, whether that's included in the new city hall or not. And so I'd like consider all those options before we take a decision.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Back to Brent.
Next comment is from Monica Ron. Hi, Glenn and Brent. Site A sucks for a new city hall. It's the most expensive, and it's in a natural area. If we can't keep it in town, I think it should be up by the fire hall, closer to the highway and other city buildings. I'm sure you knew that you would hear from me about this. Keep it in a central location. That's my voice, Monica Ron. Next comment is from Lori Lonsdorf, Sunny Ridge Drive. The tax impact of building new is way too high for our town. Carver is a small town. We need to wait until it's larger before building a shiny new building. I would prefer the hall to be renovated. The new exterior could add to the charm of the current downtown. Lori Lonsdorf, Sunny Ridge Drive. Next comment is from Mike Kennedy, 990 Sunny Ridge Drive. The citizens of Carver cannot afford $300 to $400 per year in extra tax burden. Carver is still a small town. If we cannot afford a new city hall, We need to wait until more tax revenue is available, repair or renovate the village hall, and focus on ways to increase our revenue stream like attracting new businesses. Mike Kennedy, 990 Sunny Ridge Drive. And the first comment that we received, and last comment to be read tonight.
Yeah, if you do the math, the first comment that he received means it's the last one this evening.
Was from Bridget Kelly, winner of the Edith Ann Award, by the way, 201 3rd Street West. My opinion is to renovate Village Hall and keep City Hall in downtown Carver. It will be unfortunate to lose the gymnasium. However, the city needs more space, and it makes financial sense to utilize the structure that we already have in place. Many buildings are already vacant in town. It really seems like there is not much focus on keeping any businesses in the downtown area anymore, including the City Hall, which is a shame. I personally do not care to pay over twice as much more money for a new facility outside of the downtown area when we have one here that could be renovated to suit the need for a fraction of the price. Again, Bridget Kelly, 201 3rd Street West. So the floor is open to any residents who would like to address the council.
Anyone? Come on up.
In regards to the old hall, are you even allowed to knock it down? I thought it was part of the historical landmark or something.
Mr. Merrick?
We haven't done an investigation on it. It's not a historic building as far as like the buildings on the National Register, but we haven't.
I mean, I just see plaques on all these buildings.
Right, that building doesn't have a plaque.
Okay.
That doesn't. We'd want to do a full analysis and make sure, just because part of our heritage involves, historic buildings, but I can tell you that it's not on the National Register, and superficial analysis is that it wouldn't require, but we would still double check and do everything if, capital IF, we got to that point.
Okay, I wasn't, again, because everybody's talking about knocking it down, I didn't know you were allowed to. If it's not on historical registry, that's fine. Okay, thanks.
Hello, Mrs. Graham.
I'm Evelyn Grimm. I'm on 523 Skyview Lane. And I was on the task force that took on this project, and I went on it mostly because interested in Carver and Animal Lion. So I was concerned about the space that we need. Listening to all these comments and trying to make my opinion has been difficult, because we went through the process and it was kind of like, what would you like to have? Oh no, yeah, we'd like this, we'd like that. We want space, we want meeting rooms, we want the offices all there. And so you develop this criteria, and then you develop this nice building, and you think this is going to be really what we need. But I'm thinking now that I don't think this is the right time. We're going into it rather rapidly, and it's going to take still, 2 to 3 years before we'd even have a space to use. And so I do like our downtown facility, and I would like to see it repaired so that it's usable. I know the offices are cramped, but I hate to see the gym being taken over by office space, because I know there's athletic people in the city that like to use the gym. And it was used, I believe, quite a bit, because we'd go through town in the evening and you'd see the lights on with people using the gym. So I hate to see the gym being used for something else. So I don't know how far you can go to repair the existing building, leave the gym, possibly if the staff can be where they're at for a while, and maybe just, I think somebody alluded to this, just move the city offices over by the fire department And that would not increase, you wouldn't need as large a building, nor the cost of, making a gym and a lot of big meeting spaces. So I know this is a big task for the council to take on, but I'm glad we had that many opinions, and I think it's good that citizens have spoken up. So, and I
Evelyn,
think,
I just want to clarify, what I heard from you, tell me if I'm wrong, you are for keeping Village Hall downtown, repairing it so that it's usable in its current form, and if we need city space to build a new building up by the fire department?
for city offices.
For city office, okay. I just want to make sure I understood, that's all.
And that doesn't probably have to be done as part of this project, but that could be done in a year or so. I don't know how cramped the city offices are exactly, but that would be my final, I guess, decision.
Thank you, Ellen.
Okay.
Sorry, I was writing. Anyone else? Come on up.
I had emailed you earlier in the month and you replied too, but it didn't get read. But I'm Beth Sefkar and I live at 329 Sibley Street. And love Carver. We moved here 17 years ago and raised 3 kids. And
Has it been that long?
it has been that long. Really concerned taxpayer though. And Randy and I would probably like to retire here. It was obviously a common concern that the cost of this is pretty out there. I feel like it's maybe putting the cart before the horse. I would be in agreement that the Village Hall probably needs renovation or remodeling, and I lean more towards the idea, and I had expressed this to Brent, just to maybe make that the offices and keep that maybe downtown so it keeps the flow of traffic and business and things down there. And if there's the need for a meeting space or a recreation center, that can maybe be built in the future when it's not such a strain on taxpayers, and somehow generate some revenue if people are going to hold weddings or have community functions there, that we have a way to make some money off it so it's not such a strain to people who live here. Because I think it's going to take away from people who want to move out here. And we do have a new school, and that was one of my questions too, is using the school for voting purposes or, pancake breakfasts, or, if we can utilize that, the taxpayers are paying for that facility as well. So I think it really needs to be looked at with a pretty fine-tooth comb, that this is going to impact people's reasons to stay here, reasons to move here, and it's a small town, and I think people want to preserve that, and as well as meet the needs of what obviously business needs and community needs. But I think it would be biting off way too much at this point. When the population grows, maybe in 5 to 8, 10 years, I mean, obviously there's huge future growth out Jonathan Carver Parkway and up the hill. But at this point, I just think it's, people refer to it as a Taj Mahal type of plan. I think it really is. It's really extravagant for a town this size. And I feel, just because we are where we are in location, people do use Chaska for the community center. People do go to the field house in Victoria. People do utilize the area around us. And, until we can afford to do something like this as a community, I think we really need to take a hard look at it and wait. I guess if I was proposing a plan, to renovate the Village Hall to accommodate the much-needed office space, and, if the basement needs to be refurbished or, with the kitchen down there or whatnot. But I definitely think as a small town, it needs to be kept where it's at. I think that is definitely a cornerstone to driving through town, up the hill, and, people look for that and identify, that's neat that that's still down there. So I'd say preserve it and use it as office space and a small gathering space, if that's what can be afforded. I mean, these other three plans it's just an example. Like I said to my kids, this is living beyond your means. Like, I have 3 kids in their 20s. It's like you're trying to teach them how to buy a car, where to live, take care of education expenses. It's like, you bite off this much, how do you explain this to your kids? Like, yeah, now we have billions of dollars in debt. It's like that, it's not doing anyone any favors. But thanks, everyone, for your time.
And
Just so that I understand, I just want to make sure that I understood. You're for renovate
Renovating it, yeah,
into
for the office space.
the office space into the gym upstairs,
Yeah,
and then if the meeting space that would be available is whatever is downstairs. If we need to do the
Obviously,
kitchen and whatever.
The major concern there would be accommodating the city offices.
Okay.
And to keep those downtown.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And Beth is 100% right. I missed that. So I just, for the residents' benefit for the councils, I'd just like to
In
read
fairness.
her comments. Yeah.
Fairness for the safeguards.
So Beth Sufgar, 329 Sibley Street. Would it be more cost effective to renovate existing village hall to accommodate needed office space and build a separate gathering space building at a future date when the community can financially support it without such a tax increase? Can the elementary school be used for voting and other community activities? And then we responded, or the city responded, thank you for reaching out. The easy answer, yes, Carver Elementary can be used, rented for community activities and events. It should be a very welcomed amenity to the community. The hard answer, I would say, it depends as it relates to renovating now and building later. Much of it will be based on project scope and the timing of the build, but it's definitely a concept that could be considered. There was an additional follow-up question related to whether or not there'd be a vote. And I said I can certainly appreciate the question, but anything I could add would be pure speculation. Your best route would be to reach out in your comments or by contacting council members with your preferences, and that was related to a vote, related to a referendum or not having a referendum. So again,
Tell Randy we didn't mean anything by it. There's an open mic. We don't have any more comments to read. Bueller. I'm sensing that we gave everybody an opportunity. Does anybody feel like we didn't? Because it's open. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Brent, thank you for your excellent reading skills. We've got a lot to consider, and we greatly appreciate the feedback and the time and the effort. We have this on tape, so that, and I believe it's streaming live. Is that accurate? So it also will be available on public television, so you can rewatch this or tell your friends if they have questions to listen to Brent. Or if they just want to call Brent, he'll read them to them over the phone. Just a little joke. We're trying to throw a little levity at this hour. We'll have a tabulated note. Why don't you just give us a quick layout of what the next step is?
yeah, so the next step at the April 3rd City Council meeting, which is Monday, this will be an item on the City Council's agenda as new business. And if we do have additional residents that weren't able to make it or something occurred to them, we'll give them the opportunity to do that. But then we'll bring it back up to the council dais and then ask the council to provide staff with feedback, information that has occurred to you that you'd like to have, different concepts you'd like to have considered, research done. The goal would be then to turn that around and then prepare that for your April 17th meeting. And you could be in a position where you'd want to consider a preferred choice at that meeting, or you, based on having or not having certain information or wanting additional analysis, you may choose to table that. If you got to the point, whether it's at the meeting on the 17th of April or a meeting in May, The step would be to create or motion to have a preferred choice and then direct staff to create an action plan. So with any type of, whether it's the renovation, whether it's a new building, there are a series of steps that we need to try to lay out for you, and so you can make some decisions on those steps. But those are the next few steps in the process.
Thank you. And for the record, I have access to all these, and I've taken this many notes based upon your feedback this evening, and I really appreciate it. Even Mr. Grimm. He scares me. All right. For moving forward, I think I just need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.